Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can really help the show reach more loss and infertility families by taking a moment to leave a positive review or rating on Apple or Spotify. You can also check out more information about the episode in the show notes at journeyforjasmine.com. Today, I am talking with Amy Joy from Sync Botanicals. She shares how her herbal tea blends support women's cycles, balance hormones, and promote better health. She discusses syncing cycles with the moon, the benefits of herbal remedies for irregular cycles, and why women's health deserves more awareness and care. Hello everyone, today I am here with Amy Joy from Sync Botanicals. Hi Amy, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Do you mind talking a little bit about yourself and about what Sync Botanicals is?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Sync Botanicals is the first of its kind. It's a monthly box of tea that syncs with your cycle. So women drink 1 cup daily, and the blend changes depending on where they are in their cycle. So there's a blend for each phase of your cycle to match your body's unique needs during that phase. And each monthly box has over 30 certified organic herbs and adaptogens that are crafted to meet your body's particular needs at each stage of your cycle.
I admit, when I first saw this, I was really intrigued because I was like, I've never seen anything like this really. So, how did that idea come about?
Yeah, so I've always been really into herbalism and women's health. And I have also previously struggled with my own hormonal symptoms of PMS. I used to break out around my period every single month, like clockwork. I had sugar cravings and mood swings, energy crashes, all that typical hormonal stuff. And I had been reading a lot about herbalism and how to use herbs to support your body at different phases of your cycle. And I just kept reading over and over again about how if you use particular herbs at particular stages, it could really be a powerful tool to help with hormonal balances. So I started looking for this and I wanted it to exist and I couldn't find it anywhere in this way. And so I started making it for myself in my own kitchen, and I ordered a bunch of loose leaf herbs. I spent way too much money, like hundreds, like probably $500 on loose leaf herbs, and I started blending them every single day. And I would like portion them out in little sandwich bags and use a Sharpie marker to number them to the number of the day of my cycle phase to correspond to the day of my cycle. And then I was drinking them every day, and within a couple of months I started seeing really significant changes. I stopped breaking out around my period for the first time in my entire life. And then I had more energy, less PMS. It was really noticeable after a couple of months. And so I just knew that I really wanted to start making them for other women. And I really believed that I could help them too. And so it took me about a year to get to this stage. It took me about a year to bring them to life. And I've never done anything like this before. I've never started a business or anything. I'm just a regular person who's really into herbalism and women's health. And now I just launched the business 2 months ago, actually. And so it's still brand new. And I am truly getting messages from women every single day now about what a difference they feel and how much better they're feeling after having drank it. And it's just been so exciting to see that I really believed that I could help women, and to see that it actually is, it's just been it's incredibly heartwarming. And yeah, I'm getting messages from women who have said that they used to use prescription acne medication and they no longer do for the first time. I got a message from someone who said she had the easiest period of her life. I got another message from someone who said that for the first time ever, she wasn't PMSing, and even her husband noticed and was like, could that actually be the tea? I think, we think of herbs as being kind of this woo woo, like, could this really work? And it does. There's a lot of there's research behind every single herb that's in Sync Botanicals. So it's been a really exciting first couple of months.
I think that's amazing just to get that feedback and to know like I'm actually doing what I want to do, like helping other people. And, it's not just a crazy idea because that's how all businesses start, right? Like, I want to do this. There's nothing out there. And then you just kind of jump in and see where it goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. It's been really, really exciting to see that it's really working for people.
So how, I mean, I know you kind of mentioned that the specific herbs that you used are, that you researched them and stuff like that. How did you kind of come up with the final idea for each blend?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm really not inventing anything new. What I've done here is I've made it easy for women to incorporate years of research of how to use herbs for our hormones. Herbs have been used to help balance our hormones for centuries. And so all I've done is I've compiled the research from many different experts over many different cultures across hundreds of years and just made it easy for women. And so the general gist of it is when you're on your period, we have herbs that help with cramps and bloating, digestion, normal things that people commonly struggle with during their period. And then after your period, we have herbs that replenish the minerals and nutrients that you lost during your bleed. And then around ovulation, we have herbs that help with skin and hair health. And then at the end of your cycle, when some people are PMSing, there are herbs that help with energy, mood, stress, and cortisol levels. So that's how it works generally. Your body is doing a delicate dance with your hormones all month long. And so we're just using herbs to help support what your body is naturally doing. So during your menstrual phase, your hormones are at their lowest. And so we're supporting that. And then later, after your period, estrogen is rising. And then at the end of your cycle, you have progesterone that takes over. And so there are herbs that help your body with these natural processes, that help your body to get rid of the excess estrogen at the end and help your body to develop for the estrogen to rise in the beginning and things like that.
Listening to you talk about everything, it just makes me realize just how little we are taught about our cycles. And, it's just kind of taught, okay, you'll have a 28-day cycle. Everybody has it. You bleed, you move on. Like nothing about energy, nothing about hormone levels, nothing about irregular cycles, like anything. Do you feel like you were taught much like about your cycles growing up?
I agree with you. I feel like I don't think any of us really were. I think we were taught, we know about our periods, but I didn't learn about the four phases of our cycle until much later in life. Yeah, much later in life. It's wild. We have cycles, we bleed for about 40 years and we're just expected to power through it. And, our hormones are affecting everything from our energy to our appetite, our mood, our skin, our hair, everything. And we're expected to just kind of power through it and pretend like we're the same every day and like nothing that isn't all happening in the background. And so I think that being able to learn about it and understand what's happening in your body allows you to support your body differently and to not just with herbs but with your diet, with your exercise. And I think that that's what cycle syncing is all about, is understanding that you are not expected to be the same way every day. And instead, it's very empowering to learn that your body is not random, it's cyclical. And once you learn how it's cycling and how your body changes, you can learn, it's more empowering and you can learn how to support it differently.
I am one of those people who has an irregular cycle because I have PCOS. So is this still something that would work for people like me or other people who have irregular cycles?
Definitely. Many women who have irregular cycles find that their cycles actually do start to regulate. I definitely can't make any guarantees, but I get that message from women very frequently that after drinking Sync Botanicals and cycle syncing with herbs, after a couple of months, their cycles do begin to regulate. And that's because we have hormone balancing herbs that have traditionally been used for regulation, like Vitex, maca, ashwagandha, other adaptogens, things like that. But in the meantime, when your cycle is totally irregular, and you actually don't know when you're bleeding or when when you're ovulating or when you're in your follicular or luteal phase, it's pretty cool. But many hormone specialists recommend, and this might blow your mind, using the moon as a guide for cycle syncing. And that's pretty widely accepted for women who are irregular, is to use them to cycle sync with the moon instead. And that's because it's a natural rhythm that your body can follow even if you're not bleeding regularly. And so you start your first blend on the new moon and you continue drinking it 1 cup daily. And the box has 28 bags of tea in it, just as the moon has 28 days. So it ends up working out perfectly that you finish on the full moon. And it's a beautiful way to give your body consistent support without needing to know exactly where you are in your own cycle. So you're still nourishing your hormones in a rhythm. You're just guided by the moon instead of your period.
That's super interesting.
I know, isn't that? I do have I am regular enough that I know where I am in my cycle, but sometimes I feel kind of jealous of the women who are drinking Sync Botanicals in rhythm with the moon because it just seems like such a cool way to connect with the natural world.
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to have to try because I have some, I mean, they're somewhat regular sometimes, but they're still longer than the 28 days. And, it can be all over the place because PCOS is not fun. But yeah, I think that's super cool. And,
Yeah,
I've never really even paid much attention to the moon phases or the moon cycle or anything like that. So
pretty cool, right? I read that before the invention of light bulbs, of artificial light, women's hormonal cycles synced up with the moon much more frequently, and that ever since the development of artificial light, we now don't sync up with the moon as often. But they do say that women frequently sync up with the moon, even with artificial light.
yeah, that is so cool. And it's stuff that you would never even think about. Definitely not stuff we've ever been taught.
I know, no kidding. Very true.
I actually see like a lot of your posts, and I find like every single one teaches me something new that I never knew about my cycle, or and I'm like, wow, that is such a cool fact. Like I think you mentioned already that you bleed for about 4 years or something like that. I never knew that either.
Isn't that cool? I know. Yeah, there's so much. I feel really lucky to be in this space because there's just so much to learn and there's so much to teach. Because just as you say, most of us did not grow up learning this stuff.
So I know you talked about it a little, with the benefits, but are there any other benefits to cycle syncing besides clearing up those PMS symptoms and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our hormones impact every part of our life. And so cycle syncing helps your hormones to regulate. And so once you have begun to cycle sync, you can see benefits. In addition to less PMS and fewer mood swings, you can also see more energy. Better sleep is a common one, and improved skin and hair. I hear that all the time. That's a really, really common one for people to see. Improved digestion as well. And just a deeper sense of rhythm and connection to your body, which is just it's such an empowering way to go about the world, feeling like you're in connection with your own body. And it's also incredibly validating. You realize you're not crazy, it's not the changes you feel in your body aren't random. You're just cycling, you're cyclical, and it's quite predictable once you learn how to tune into it.
I've been drinking the teas for, let's see, I'm almost on my last phase. So I've been drinking them almost the 28 days now. And I've definitely noticed some changes too. And I just actually had my cycle last week and I'm like, wow, I even noticed changes there. Like how many
Wow.
days, like length of time, like things like that. It went a lot. I didn't have cramps. I didn't have, things like that. So I thought I was like, really? From tea? That's so
I
cool. And
know.
it tastes good. So
I know. I always say that if big pharma could patent herbs, then we would see commercials for this stuff everywhere. But because it's not, it's not a thing that a like corporation could make the pharmaceutical drug out of in the same way. We've been taught to believe that it's like this alternative medicine, and but there really is research behind every single herb that are in Sync Botanicals, and they really do the thing that they're supposed to do. But it is always quite surprising when you realize, like, this is just a cup of tea. Could it possibly work the way that it's intended to? But I've come to learn too that most of our pharmaceutical drugs are based on plant compounds as well. And so nature knows best. You just have to. Nature is not, it's not alternative medicine. It's really the original medicine.
yeah, but you're right. It is seen as that weird, like that, not weird, but like to
Yes.
normal medicine, like that, oh, that thing, over here that I don't know about that, but this pill will work.
Totally,
Like,
totally. Yes, we have been we really believe those pharmaceutical commercials.
So do you have a favorite blend?
Mm, that's a good question. I really like Pulse. It's the one that is during the ovulation phase. It's a little bit of a greenish bluish color because there's butterfly pea flower in it. It's and I think it's an unusual flavor. When I started this, like I said, I started it in my own kitchen. And while they worked really well, they weren't tasting very good. And that's because I'm not a tea blender. I just was steeping different herbs in my cup. So when I decided to start making it for other women, I hired the woman who made the Republic of Teas blends. I don't know if you know them, but it's like that cylinder tea canisters. And anyways, she made their blends for 15 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
I hired her to make our blend. So I can't take credit for the fact that they taste good because but she is very, very talented and I really like the flavor of the Pulse one. I think it's really unique.
I didn't even know that that was a job. Like the person who makes the tea tastes good, you know?
I know, I didn't either. There is so much science to it that I didn't know about at all before, and now I do. It's like a sommelier for tea.
Yeah. So did you just kind of say, these are the herbs I want in there, like go with it?
Yeah, generally, I consulted with experts as well, with herbalists and nutritionists and hormone health people. And once we came up with the recipes, we worked with her, of which herbs to go in each one. Then we worked with her on how to make them taste good and what the right amount is. That's the other thing I learned about is there's an effective dose of each herb, right? If you just do a little sprinkling, it's not necessarily enough. And so learning what the effective dose is of each herb, which it's different depending on the herb, so that the teas actually do the thing that they're supposed to do. So I learned a lot in the last year.
So with the effective dose that you're talking about, is it pretty much the same for everybody, or does that, I mean, is that a good
Yeah.
dose for most people?
Yes, great question. That's right. It's the right dose for most people, but it's different depending on the herb itself.
And is this something like you can keep drinking it like throughout your life? You don't have to, with some herbs and things like that, you have to take a break for a while. Is this you just keep
You just
going?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much better. Like I've been adding it to my morning. So, I'll eat breakfast and then I usually like start work and I'll drink my tea while I start work. And it's kind of a nice moment to know that I'm doing something good for my hormone health, but also it's relaxing, and it gives you that like stress-free moment to just sit there and drink your tea.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of like tune into your body and to make it a ritual that you look forward to and have some intention about. Of course there will be times where you just have to drink it and you run out the door and you're busy, but like taking a moment for yourself and tuning into yourself, I think it can be really powerful. Do you have a favorite blend?
Actually, it's the one that I immediately forgot the name of with the
Center.
cinnamon. Yes, yes. I
That's
love the cinnot.
that's a really good one. I like that one
And
as
it's
well.
funny that you mentioned your favorite one because that's the one that I was like, this tastes a little, not, it doesn't taste bad. It just tastes different,
It does. I
I think
know.
that's
It's the
funny.
one that's different than all the others. I know, I know. It was the one that I was most nervous about as well, where I thought, are people gonna like this one? Because it's a flavor combination that is unlike most teas. And I think that was the other fun part of this project was most teas on the market, you're combining flavors because they taste good. And this one, we're combining herbs because they work well together. And so it's a slightly different calculation. And so, you have teas that have like these herbs in it that you would never necessarily put together. So
Mhm.
I'm very glad that I hired the professional to make them taste good. It was very necessary.
Yeah, I'm sure you tasted some interesting stuff when trying to do them, right?
Definitely. I had a lot of girlfriends come over for blind taste testings. It was fun.
That does sound fun.
It was, yeah.
So do you have plans to add anything else or do anything else with it in the future or just kind of focusing on this right now? I know
I'm
you just
focusing on
launched,
it for
so.
now. Yeah, I think I'm really trying to like tune in and listen to what people who are drinking Sync Botanicals say as well. I've gotten different feedback of other things that people would like and as like another product or something else that would supplement this. So far I'm just going to focus on this, but I'm definitely open to people's suggestions of what they would like next as well.
I also wanted to mention that the packaging on it is super beautiful. So how did you come up with
Thank
that?
you.
I was like, wow, this is. I love this. It's like the prettiest tea set I've ever gotten.
Thank you. Yeah, I liked the idea of having a round box because as we were talking about, the moon is such an obvious connection to me with women. And so and it's a cycle, and it just feels like a round shape is the right shape to go along with this concept. And everybody, of course, thought that I was totally crazy. And how could you possibly put a square tea bag into a round box? But we made it work. But I have definitely made all parts of the supply chain more complicated, because there is a reason things are square. They fit in boxes to ship, and they fit on shelves in warehouses and things like that. And so I felt a little bit crazy to put tea into a round box, but I'm really glad that I did. And it took a long time this seems so simple, but it took a very long time to figure out the proper dimensions, of how I didn't have the tea at the time. Someone else was making the tea. So how you like actually fit it together correctly in a round box. I definitely made my life more complicated by going that direction, but it was worth it. And then in terms of the design and everything, I found this wonderful woman. Her name is Jess Forheis, and her company is called Burnworks, and she designed the packaging, and she just like immediately understood the look that we were going for, and just ran with it. And it was a really fun part of the process.
That's something I would never think of, like it being difficult because you just see the end result and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like this. This makes
Yeah.
sense. But you don't see all the back process of it all.
Mhm. Yes, I took cardboard boxes and was cutting them the exact size of 20 of a tea bag, and then did it 28 times, and then laid them out on the kitchen counter in a circle to try and figure out the dimensions of the box.
I know that's definitely how I am too. I'm like, you know what? I think this would be great. Somebody else make it happen, please.
Yes.
I just come up with the idea. Can somebody else do it?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes.
So what got you first interested in like women's health?
I've always been really interested in it. I was really lucky. My mom always cared a lot about healthy eating, and I grew up in Southern California, where we had access to a lot of really delicious produce, and so it was really easy to eat healthy. And I think my first foray into health was understanding more about nutrition and trying to eat more clean and in a non-toxic way. And then I got really interested in glucose and how to prevent glucose spikes and the impact of that. I really didn't know anything about that stuff before. There's someone named Glucose Goddess, and she wrote a really wonderful book. Basically, there are just a few really simple rules that you can follow to prevent your body from having these glucose spikes. And a glucose spike happens after you've had a lot of glucose on like an empty stomach. And a glucose spike causes you to feel good temporarily, but then you have a crash. And when you're having a crash, you're feeling tired, and that's that hangry feeling that people describe. And the only way, what your body is craving then is more glucose. And so you then have more of a carbohydrate or a sugar, and then it crashes again, and it becomes this roller coaster and this cycle. And it's really tiring on your body, and it causes all kinds of chronic issues long term, and then short term issues like being just tired, not sleeping well. Messing with your hormones is a huge one. Skin, hair, all parts of your health, it really impacts. And so a few things you can do is not eat carbs on an empty stomach. You don't have to change your diet. You can eat all the same things, but not eating carbs on an empty stomach is a big one. Having fiber first, which is just like a vegetable basically. And then if you do have carbs, to pair it with a fat or a protein. So if you're going to have a bagel, to have an egg sandwich with your bagel, or, if you're going to have an apple, to put peanut butter on it, because that's your fat and protein, as opposed to the apple being on its own. So anyways, that was my real big entry point, I think, into women's health. And then I've always had this separate interest in herbalism. And so combining those has been really unlocked a new level of health for myself.
Is the herbalism, is that something you have to do training on or like school or anything like that?
Yeah, I've read a lot of books and I have taken courses as well. Interestingly enough, it's not really something that you can just self-proclaim yourself an herbalist. It's not something that is like a doctor where there's a board who, decides that you've passed tests or a lawyer or something like that. And so, yeah, I don't tend to identify as an herbalist because I don't know. It's just important to me to have credibility. And I feel like I have a lot left to learn about it, but I have also spent a lot of time reading about it and taking courses and stuff too.
And I'm curious because I've never been one to like buy herbs. Where do you even buy those
It's a
from?
great question.
Amazing.
Mostly online. There are a lot of really good herb shops online. Yeah, but they're expensive and it's hard to buy them in small quantities. And so you end up having like massive bags of many herbs and it's a lot of like space to store it. It's not very convenient as a hobby at all.
You're like, yeah, it's like when you need, just the teaspoon of sugar, but have to buy the whole thing. It's like,
That's
what
right.
the?
That's right. And with herbs, you're using a very small amount.
Do they smell like strong when you
Amazing. They
yeah.
smell really, really, really good. And they're very pretty too. I
I want to see them now. I'm like,
know.
look it up online and do some.
Yes, yes.
I never think about what the things actually look like because most of the time, they're either ground up like in a supplement or you drink it or you don't actually see what it started out as.
Totally. Yep, you're absolutely right.
And one of my favorite things has actually been trying to pick out the taste of the certain herbs that I know what they are, like the cinnamon, or I know one has peppermint in it, and I like tasting the peppermint. And so that's been kind of fun for me as I drink them.
Totally. Yes, I love that.
So if people were wanting to find out more about you and, are interested in the products, where would they go for that?
Definitely. So I have a website. It's syncbotanicalsco.com. And I believe we have a discount code for your community as well if they decide that they want to try Sync Botanicals. And they're also welcome to follow me on my Instagram. I'm very active there. And that's sync spelled SYNC, like cycle syncing, sync.botanicals.co.
And you should definitely follow her because she has a lot of interesting stuff. Like I said earlier, every time I learn something new when I see one of your posts, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. So,
Thank you. I have fun on there. It's honestly one of my favorite parts is connecting with people on Instagram because it's just I like talking to the people who are actually drinking Sync and feeling the difference in their body, and that's like the easiest way for me to be in touch with customers. So
yeah, it's like you're creating your own like community there.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Well, I want to
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing about yourself and your company. And I hope a lot of the listeners will go try it out themselves because I've definitely loved it.
Thank you. Yes. And if they would like to try it, they can use the code Journey for Jasmine 15 for $15 off their first box when they choose delivery every cycle.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Amy, for sharing about your amazing company. Remember, you can use code Journey for Jasmine 15 for $15 off your first box at syncbotanicalsco.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a positive review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.